So you've decided to buy a house and you're all motivated and you want to get out there and you're just ready to pull the trigger. Well, I don't want you to get caught by surprise, and I'm here as a real estate agent and as an investor, somebody that's bought and sold, been in the process on a lot of houses. And I want to save you from making the common mistakes that make people go bankrupt later. I don't want you to lose money. I want you to know exactly what you're getting yourself into. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the top ways to not go bankrupt or lose massive amounts of money right off the bat. So here we go. I'm going to talk about top 5 ways to not lose money in real estate buying your first house. So let's get to it. These are the hidden costs that can make you lose a lot of money or actually go bankrupt on a house. And we don't want that to happen, so I'm going to save you from it. Let's get to it. All right. The first one is taxes. Let's talk about taxes. When you buy your house, let's say you buy a new build house, I want you to be very, very careful that you understand that your taxes most likely are going to change the next year. Many times when you buy a new build, those taxes are generated off the undeveloped property, the property before they built the house. So when you close on that house and you escrow your mortgage, your insurance, and your taxes, that next year they're going to reassess you, and your what is drawn on a monthly basis is going to go up, and that's going to be on the tax side. Yeah, your mortgage might be fixed, but the taxes are not going to be fixed, and then your insurance is not going to be fixed. So keep that in mind, and we'll talk about insurance in a minute. So most states will allow you to have a homestead exemption. Here in the state of Florida, homestead exemption, and that caps the amount that your taxes, your property taxes, can go up in the future. You got to make sure you go down and file for your exemptions. If you're a veteran, most states have a veteran's tax exemption. If you're disabled or a widower or combat veteran or any of those things, you have disability, go down and see if you qualify for those to bring down your taxes, okay? Your property taxes. Don't get caught by that, because there's been many of people that buy a new build and they close on it, and then the next year their escrowed monthly payment goes up, or if you pay it in lump sum, by the year like I do, that next year, it could go up quite a bit. So make sure you file for exemptions, your homestead, and then you cap it. And don't get caught by that, because it'll definitely get you. So the next one is the one I hate the most. Insurance. Let's talk about home insurance. I am not an insurance agent. I am a real estate agent. But I will say this. When you buy a house, you most likely purchase homeowners insurance. If you have a mortgage, they force you to have insurance. If you own outright cash, well, it's up to you. Some people self-insure. Some just specify down to they get rid of wind or flood, and they just have hazard or liability. But I will tell you this: insurance is never going to come down. It's always going to go up, right? If you shop around, you might find a cheaper one, but most of the time it's going to be a steady increase over time with home insurance. So be cognitive of that. If they raise your taxes and then they raise your insurance, well, your monthly escrowed payment's going to go up. So be cognitive of those too. I want to add about flood insurance. A lot of the policies here in the state of Florida, if you have citizens, they're forcing you to have flood insurance. And one thing you got to understand about flood insurance, it covers some things and it doesn't cover other things. Like citizens, like it's just normal policy, sometimes won't cover pressing rain or certain types of floods, pipe busting, etc. You just got to know your policy. Make sure you know what it covers. And let's say you don't have flood insurance, and when you get one of those 100-year rains and it does flood your house, well, the cost to renovate that can be crazy. Just know, go to the FEMA flood map, make sure you know if you are in a flood zone or aren't, or how far away you are from it, and just be cognizant of these things. Don't be scared of them, just understand the risk you're starting to take. But I'm not an insurance agent. Ask your insurance agent all these questions. But since I'm telling you what questions to ask, go ask them and see what they say. And if you're like me, where they cancel us in Florida all the time, a lot of times they will force you to do maintenance and upgrades on your house that you weren't expecting. Let's say you buy the property and you have your monthly payment, and everything you thought on the house was good. And then all of a sudden the insurance is like, you need a new roof, even though it's not leaking and it's 50-year architectural shingle, but you're at 15 years, and the insurance company's like, you're going to get a new roof or we're going to drop you. So then you got to go get a new roof. Or they raise your premium, right? Or they just drop you entirely. Let's say they don't like the wiring in your house. Let's say you've got, let's just go ahead and say aluminum. Everybody's going to be in the comments talking. But let's say it's aluminum, works fine, there's no problems in it. And they're like, oh, aluminum wiring, you're going to have to either rewire your whole house or we're going to drop you. Or let's say you have an old hot water heater and it works fine. It's 12 years old, and the insurance company's like, oh, you're at year 10. You're going to have to get a new hot water heater or we're going to drop you. And now all of a sudden you're spending $1,000, $1,500 for a plumber to come in and put a new hot water heater in, and you weren't expecting that. It just goes on and on and on with what they can do. Let's say they think you need hurricane straps on your house. Well, there's $2,000 to put them on. Let's say they think you need new windows. You like your windows, but they don't like them. You need storm windows. There's $14,000. It just goes on and on and on. So try not to go into some of these, especially these older houses, even though you're doing no money down. If you don't have the cash to cover these expenses that could come and you're not planning forward, you have to become an expert on all this stuff. Homeownership is expensive. And as Dave Ramsey says, a mortgage broker makes you broker. Well, it can in these situations. And if you don't have the ability to come up with these fixes and they drop you, they're going to force insurance on you, okay? Let's say I have, let's say I have a Cabrillo, and they come out and say, hey, we are going to drop you if you do not put a new roof on. And the new roof is $15,000. And I say, I don't have $15,000. I don't know what I'm going to do. And they drop me. And then they force insurance on me, which the mortgage company will do. And it goes from, and this happened to my buddy the other day, it went from $2,000 a year to $15,000 a year. Well, congratulations. You might not own that house fairly quickly, because you can't afford the insurance. Now you can't afford the mortgage. Now you're looking at foreclosure. You're looking at a really bad situation. And this is going to start happening to a lot of people. And it's already happening to a lot of people. So just be cognitive of, if you're at year 14 and that real estate agent does not flag that roof when you go to when you're buying the property, so you have a bad real estate agent and he doesn't warn you that there's a good chance in a year they're going to force you to put a new roof on there. You close on that house, and in a year the insurance company says either put a new roof on there or we're dropping you, and you can't find other insurance to get you across the finish line. You might be homeless soon. Just keep that in mind. That takes me to the next one, maintenance. You got to figure maintenance as $1 per square foot per year. If you've got a 1,200 square foot house, well, that's going to be $1,200 a year in maintenance on that house. You can defer it, and it's going to get you one day. I have a good saying about maintenance on a house, that if you don't do it today, it's going to cost you 10 times more in the future. By year 25 or 30, and you haven't fixed that one thing, like I said, that little leak or that little window that leaks, well, you're going to be paying for it exponentially down the road when you're replacing all the wood and the decking and the flooring and everything that you could have fixed day one with just a little caulk. This goes with air conditioning units. They wind up failing on you. Hot water heaters, they wind up going out on you. On and on and on and on. There's actually a formula that a lot of investors use when it comes to factoring all these things. We say refrigerator's 10 years and it's out, hot water heater's 10 years old and it's out, and a roof is 15, 20, and we assign a monthly amount to these things every year, and we say, okay, well, that roof's costing me $50 a month, or it's costing me $100 a month, and I know there is an amount to that. Same way with, I know the refrigerators can cost me 10 or 20 bucks a month. Not only in power, but in the maintenance in the future when I have to buy another one when it goes out. Literally everything in your house is slowly deteriorating, so just keep that in mind, that one day it will die. That's why, by the time you pay off your house in 30 years, most likely it's going to be wore out and you're going to have to renovate the whole thing. Just keep that in mind. The next one is solar panels. Okay, I did a whole video on why the problems I have with solar panels, and really it has to do with the financing aspects of them. If you're taking out a second mortgage to get your solar panels, or they're putting another lien on the property for the mortgage panels, and you're not paying cash for them, this could be something that could make you get foreclosed on. Okay, like just be just keep that in mind. The moment you take out a liability and put it on your roof or on your house and you can't afford the monthly payment, so you get hurt or whatever, it's a way you can lose your house. Keep that in mind when you're doing it. And that's why I say if you're going to do it, pay cash for them, because it can come back to haunt you later. As a real estate agent, I hate doing deals on houses that have solar panels that are not paid off, because the buyer usually has to be able to assume the loan on those solar panels, and it's just one more thing you got to qualify for, and one more thing you gotta look out for. And they actually don't last forever. So let's say 20 years, you're not getting 100% anything on a solar panel that's 20 years old. Like, you might be getting 60-70% out of them, and pretty soon they're pretty much depreciated out. So just keep that in mind. Also, I'm going to add this, and that's tenant destruction. If you're Airbnb in the property or you rent it out temporarily, one bad tenant, one bad renter can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. Trust me, I have seen this happen. Let them leave the water running one time and just soak all your floors inside your house, and the insurance company not cover it because you didn't get that flood or water policy you thought you didn't need. Like, you know, it happens, and then you've got to redo all the subfloor in the house. Well, congratulations, you're bankrupt. You know, if you don't have that money to cover it. Sometimes insurance companies do not cover a lot of stuff, and you'd be surprised how many times something bad happens and you're just out of luck. All right, the last one I'll talk about is assessments. Those come out of left field, let me tell you. If you own a condo, live in an HOA, well, HOAs, you know, those dues go up. Be careful about those. And you can get fined by the HOA, but assessments, especially if you live on the beach or you live in special communities, well, when that whole community's roof needs to be replaced, or the driveway, or there's something that needs to be done, they will just levy that on top of your condo or on the top of your property, and you have to pay for it. And let's say, like, you know, it goes up $300 or $400 a month, or let's say there's docks out there that get blown away by the hurricane that wasn't insured, or they just need to, let's say a boat hits them, something weird happens, and they put an assessment on you for that, whatever. You'll have to come out of pocket for that, and it catches people off guard. So make sure you just know what you're getting up against, okay? See that a lot with condos, and especially old condos, especially ones on the beach with a lot of like bad siding, or like made out of wood, where there's a lot of wood rot and that salt air. Get a lot of assessments, and sometimes that's way more than the HOA. The main point I'm trying to drive home here is make sure you have reserve capital, reserve cash set aside that can pick up the slack on these things. So if you are caught off guard, that you understand you gotta budget for these things. And if you're going into the deal with no reserve cash, no money set aside, you're doing 100% down, you got an extra $1,000 by the time you get done with closing, and you get hit with these things, well, you can be in a lot of trouble. And just make sure you plan for it. And that was my point of this video, was make sure you understand these things. But that's really it, everybody. I've babbled on for about 15 minutes. Comment down below with your thoughts, something I didn't come up with. I wanted to make this video because people need to know. Like, don't go into owning a property like blind and just think it's all, you know, rainbows and pixie dust, because it can come back to get you. And I believe in owning a home. I believe in owning real estate as the #1 way of generating wealth. But it can also come back to sting you if you don't have enough liquidity in the bank, extra cash set aside for problems when they arise. And that's why I think you need an amount for a good down payment and for any repairs that may come up, and then negotiate into those repairs when you're buying the property to where when you get it, it's in good shape. Unless you're a serious investor like me and you know what all this stuff, what it comes with, try to buy a good property in a good location for a good price, and make sure you research your real estate agent. As a real estate agent, I know that is one of the most important things. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.